Hi, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel, and you find me in the polytunnel today, start of a glorious day. And today I was going to talk about early potatoes. So last year we did some trials and we found that Swift and Charlotte were the most popular early potatoes that we grew, and we didn't take that very seriously. You know, we only grew a few pots just to try them out and we got a reasonable yield. I was fairly happy with it. But this year we've decided that we'd be a little bit more serious about it, and really we wanted a kind of continuity of supply, ideally, of new potatoes all the way through the year pretty much. But we didn't achieve that, so we had a bit of an issue with the Christmas potatoes. They got blight, so we didn't get as big a harvest of those. We ran out of those in about February, and of course it's the middle of March now, and we're going to harvest the first new potatoes. Sorry, middle of April now, and we're going to harvest the first of the new potatoes. So obviously it would be nice for have new potatoes between February and April, early April, but we didn't achieve it. But as always, next year. So we grew this year Charlotte and Swift. The issue with the Charlotte really is they grow really strongly early in the year, really lovely big plants, but they do tend to get a bit too big for the polytunnel and the pots that they're in, whereas the Swift are much nicer, more compact plants, but they take longer to get going. So it's going to be interesting to see what the relative yield is between the two of them. Of course, Swift is in theory a first early, and Charlotte is a second early, but they do grow really strongly in winter and very early spring. So anyway, we're going to take a look. We're just going to harvest the Charlottes today because they're looking like the ones that are ready. Now, what else? So let me just talk quickly about how I grew these. So the first thing to note is that for the Charlottes, I saved tubers from last year. Started chitting them in December, so they were well chitted in I think it was the 4th of January when I planted them. So they're really nicely chitted, beautiful short purple sputs on them. And I planted them into pots, just standard, nothing fancy, not the biggest pots, but yeah, just standard multi-purpose compost and all that. But I started them in the conservatory. I've got a desk in the conservatory, stuck them at the back of the desk out of the way, didn't get any issues with them. And the great thing about that is that the conservatory gets really nice and warm, even in winter, during the day. And it doesn't, there's no chance of frost in there at night. And yeah, so it's quite a good out of the way place for them. And because it's nice and warm in there, it only took them about 10 days to break surface, and that's the key thing with the chitting. If you really want them to get moving fast, it's worth chitting them. So in the case of early potatoes, of course, you want them as quickly as possible. So 4th of January, about the 14th of January, they broke surface. And what do you do with them then? So I moved them into a part of the conservatory that got a reasonable amount of light, not a huge amount of light, but enough. And I left them there for about another week, 10 days, something like that. And by that time, of course, I got my second batch of potatoes that had just broken surface. So I moved those into this bright area of the conservatory, and I moved the ones that were in the conservatory into the polytunnel. And of course, I had to use quite a bit of fleece to keep them frost free, but that's no real hassle. And as I say, they grew on pretty well. They look pretty healthy. But now I'm starting to get a bit of dieback on the leaves, which is no surprise because for Charlottes, it's pretty much coming to the end of their lifespan. As I say, the Swifts, they broke surface just maybe a couple of days longer than the Charlottes, slightly slower growing, but they're much nicer, more compact plants in the polytunnel. So that's a kind of important lesson learned. Now, I'm not sure whether the reason that these Charlottes are kind of a bit leggy is just light levels, or whether it's just the nature of the plant. I had the same issue really with the Christmas potatoes, which were also Charlottes. So yeah, let's take a look, see what we've got. Oh, I should also mention that of course we've got potatoes in store, but they're starting to sprout a little bit now, and of course as soon as the warm weather comes, and we're expecting some warmer weather in about a week's time, something like that. It's lovely during the day at the moment, of course, but we're still getting frost at night. But we're hoping to go frost free in about a week's time. And yeah, they're starting to sprout, and so they're not the best, and we've probably got about 3, maybe 4 weeks worth of potatoes left in store, so it'll be interesting to see. Now I've got 10 containers of potatoes in the polytunnel at the moment. I've got 2 or 3, how many have I got? 2 more containers at home that have broken surface, but they're outside under fleece. I'm not putting any more in the polytunnel. I need polytunnel space for more high value crops now. So I'm keen to get rid of these 10 pots of potatoes, but obviously they're our continuity of supply. So hopefully by the time we've cleared these 10 pots, which should be about maybe 8 weeks or so, then the ones that are outside under fleece at the moment will take over, and then obviously it'll be just continuous successions of potatoes all the way through. And then I'm going to start in August and September. I'm going to start my Christmas potatoes, probably do shallots again. I've actually got those in the cold store area of the fridge, in one of those bags that stops things ripening. I can't remember the name of them now, but it absorbs ethylene, and ethylene is what ripens potatoes and starts them growing. So they're in one of those bags, and we'll see whether they manage to stay in there until August. Obviously if they don't, then I'll have to buy some, but I'd prefer not to do that. Okay, let's have a look round. So here's the main potatoes. These are Charlottes, as you can see, very big, bushy, kind of not too leggy, but fairly leggy plants. And these are the Swift, you can see, much more compact plants. And then these are Charlottes again here, and it's the one at the back of there that is actually the furthest on. And you can maybe see, look, there's some sort of dieback on some of the leaves, some more dieback here. So I think it's worth picking now, and we'll see what we've got. So the first container I'm going to try is just this little one here, and I always like to harvest into a wheelbarrow. I find that's by far the easiest way to do it. And we'll see. So, not a great start. So there's the seed potato. And of course we're not expecting anything particularly impressive out of this, but it's a very small container. But actually there is a little bit of a harvest here. And this isn't just a fun experiment. Most of the stuff that I'm trying for earlies this year are just kind of fun experiments with tomatoes and peas and beans and all of that sort of thing. But you know, we're eating these, and you know, it's quite an important crop for us. And of course new potatoes are just such an incredible treat so early on in the season. Yeah, it really makes them worth the effort. Well, hopefully it makes them worth the effort. So that's it. Now this is just one seed potato in here, with it being a small container. And yeah, let's just get the camera and we'll take a look at those. So there's the first few. That's not bad, I'm pretty pleased with those. So here's the next container, and this is bigger, but it's still not a huge container. I think it's something like probably 25-30 litres, something like that. But I think this one's got 2, maybe 3 seed potatoes in it, and you can see what I mean. when I say it's pretty leggy. Okay, well, let's see if I can improve the view this time round. Let's get my containers sorted. Right, let's have a look. Let's see what we've got. Because when you start, it's always really worrying because it doesn't look like you've got any, and then all of a sudden they seem to start to materialise. So here's the seed potatoes, I think, anyway. Look at that, it's in good condition. That's still in pretty good condition, that seed potato. And there's the other one that's not in such good condition. Right, here we go, not very many. Yep, not too bad so far. There we go, yep. These are nice size, pretty pleased. So it has been a bit of an effort growing these, you know, lots of kind of slight messing around with fleecing them and things like that, but it's not really been too bad. And you know, to some extent it's fun as well. So although there's effort involved, you know, that effort really can be framed as fun, challenging the elements and seeing what you can do. And so that's the way I like to think about it, you know, rather than it being a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. There's a few small potatoes, but there's actually not as many small ones as I was expecting. I mean, you can see there's a few, but since I'm not replanting these because I need the space and I need the pots as well for my main crop potatoes, it's not really worth putting the plants back in. Now I know some people really like putting the plants back in, but obviously a plant as kind of leggy as this one is it's not a very good idea anyway, probably, to put that back in. It's not going to do very much. And so I think that's pretty much, oh no, there's a few more. Oh, yeah, lots more actually. Yeah, oh, there we go, another one. It's always amazing. You think you've got them all and then keep on coming. And these are the smallest of the pots that I've grown, and I grew them in these small sizes because I could fit 3 of these small pots under my desk, and then I decided I'd move up to bigger pots for everything else. So I've got 1 more of these small pots, and then from then on it's big 35 litre pots, so we should have a much bigger yield from those. In fact, there was only 2 seed potatoes in here, so that's it. Got some nice compost now to put on the brassica bed, and I think, well, that's enough for the video anyway. I'll just work my way through that, but I think that's pretty good. Okay, so I cleaned them up, and that's the yield there from 3 seed potatoes. And I'm pretty pleased with that for, I think it's the 11th of April, so that's actually a month earlier than I got them last year, and I think maybe I could get them a little bit earlier than that, so that's a challenge for next year. Maybe see if I can get them by the end of March. Of course, everything should be better from here on in. I mean, the potential for potatoes by the end of April, you know, there should be a much bigger yield and yeah, it's quite exciting to look forward to that. Now this area here, which was massively shaded by those potatoes, is much better now, so hopefully my early beetroot and my celery should do much better. And there's the next batch of potatoes, so they should be harvested by the end of April, and then into there early May of course will go all the cucumbers and early tomatoes and the like. So it's all going to plan. Just before I go, I thought I'd show you today's nice little harvest. We did the big harvest on Tuesdays and just a little harvest on the Friday, well, for Friday on Thursday. So yeah, I'll just show you that now. Lovely bean tops, some lovely purple sprouting broccoli and colette leaves in there. Lots of gorgeous radishes and spring onions. 3 lots of potatoes. Really nice spinach at the moment. And 5 smoothie mixes. All sorts of stuff in there. Lots of chicory, winter purslane, corn salad, all sorts of stuff. And some more spinach and lots of gorgeous salads. In fact, you know, just salads at this time of year, just absolutely phenomenal. Just can't beat them. So that is about it. Can get it all in. There we go. Hope you enjoyed that little video, and yeah, it'll be interesting to hear from anybody else who's growing early potatoes. How are yours doing? Have you harvested them? What sort of yield are you getting? And any tips for getting them even earlier. See you soon.